All right, y'all. Look, rapid recap for the Baltimore Ravens 41-17 victory against the Cleveland Browns. One word to describe it: dominant. Okay, you said you want to be dominant. You said you want to be down. Look, I'm telling y'all. I mean, and I mean, honestly, I could have said roller coaster. There was so many other words I could have used except for dominant, but it ended up being dominant. But it was a roller coaster. Can we be honest? Can we be real? This is your rapid recap for your Week 2 Baltimore Ravens victory against the Cleveland Browns. And look, you talking about a rocky start. You talking about a rocky start. Can we have that conversation? Can we talk? Can we talk about the fact that this was a rocky start? Can we talk about it? Because you got the Derrick Henry fumble, the second fumble in 2 weeks when he hasn't fumbled but one time in 2 years. That's crazy, right? You got drop passes in the end zone that end up leading to a field goal on that big DeAndre Hopkins catch, like that was like right there at the like half-yard line or so. Man, like I'm telling you, dude, like this game was kind of a roller coaster to a certain degree. Can we have that conversation? It kind of was, because I think it's interesting. Like we had those mistakes early, and I talked about this during the preview. The Ravens have to remember how to counterpunch. They have to, right? Because this is going to be one of those games, and I said it then, I'm going to say it now. It's going to be one of those games to kind of be a little bit emotional. You're celebrating, 30 years in the league. It's going to be a little bit emotional. Joe Flacco's coming back. Like, there's a lot of Flacco jerseys out there. There's a lot of memories that go with that. Ray Lewis was there. Like, this was one of those games, right? This is one of those games where if you let the emotions get to you too much, you might be in trouble. But I love how the Ravens weathered the storm in this one, right? You talking about an early fumble by Derrick Henry. If it goes the other way, we might have another conversation. But you're quick enough to get on it, right? Don't dwell on that, right? Don't dwell on that. And then on top of that, you talk about the dropped touchdown catch from Mark Andrews in the end zone, right? That had me just heated. I was heated. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I was like, okay, like I wasn't gonna be one of those guys who was sitting here saying, look, it's time for Isaiah Likely time. Okay, I wasn't gonna be one of those guys. But like today, I was feeling that, right? I was feeling that, and I haven't looked at the box score. I haven't even looked at the stats because I try not to before I do these instant reactions, because I want the instant reaction to be as raw and semi-emotional as it can be, because I think that's fun, because I think I can always do a recap that's a little bit more analytical later on in the week. So I try not to look too much into the stats, but I will say, man, the way the Baltimore Ravens bounced back in this game, incredible, right? Incredible. And for a team that we feel like sometimes plays a little conservative, we saw a lot of that in the first half. Can we be honest? I don't know if they were trying to pay homage to Joe Flacco by running his same offense in the first half, but the passes ahead of the line of scrimmage on third down, hoping that your team is going to be able to get yards after the catch, enough yards after the catch to get the first down. Can we stop doing that? And I feel like they didn't in the second half. In the second half was impeccable, right? The second half was impeccable. I mean, Tez Walker, this man is like the king of touchdowns right now, right? He is the king of touchdowns right now. And Tez Walker ran a great route on that outside post that he ended up running. And then that crosser that he ran too was just beautiful. I think he's going to be really good. We saw Tylan Wallace get in on the action as well. And I thought that was good. Bateman had a good game. Zay, of course, had a good game. I feel like for a game that really felt like Derrick Henry wasn't even around. It really felt like Derrick Henry didn't have a huge impact. Like, I mean, his impact is still there regardless, but it didn't feel like he had a huge impact. It still felt like you still got to respect him. I talk about this all the time. He's Derrick Henry until proven otherwise, even when you're facing a really good front seven in Cleveland, right? Even when you're facing a really good front seven in Cleveland, he's still Derrick Henry until proven otherwise. I mean, this was pretty much excellence in every phase. We talk about there was a punt blocking in the first quarter. The defense, they turned people over. Nate Wiggins with the almost pick six, beautiful. The offense was, I don't even want to say efficient, because I feel like efficient is disrespectful. I feel like sometimes to say this offense was efficient is disrespectful to this offense, right? But let's just keep it there. It was efficient. This defense was, as 86 goes, my good friend who comes by pretty much every time like clockwork, said complimentary, right? I didn't necessarily have to be great. I think they were, I think there was times when they really were great today. But I think this defense was really complimentary today. We talking about turnovers. We talking about yards after interception, right? We talking about those type of things. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. And before I get up out of here, I'm telling you, I'm gonna give y'all a more in-depth recap later. But can we give a shout out to DeAndre Hopkins, y'all? Can we just give a shout? Like, listen. I think this is kind of the perks of Todd Monken. I really do, because I feel like Todd Monken uses his guys. I really do. There's something about Todd Monken in the majority of games he uses all the talent on the field, and he knows what he has in DeAndre Hopkins, and he dials up some things for DeAndre Hopkins to be great. And I honestly feel like if maybe a Dez Bryant, maybe a Deshaun Jackson would have been able to be played under a Todd Monken system, I think they would have had better stints here. I really do. Because we're seeing it with DeAndre Hopkins, right? Everybody said he was washed up. He's just that typical veteran receiver that the Ravens tend to sign. Even like a Sammy, go back to Sammy Watkins too. He's that typical guy that they just tend to sign, blah, 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 right? But can we have that conversation? Todd Monken is using him. Right, Todd Monken is making sure he's on the field, and he's on the field, he's available, he's getting targets. Right now, I know some of the targeting aspect of it probably is on Lamar more than anything, but the run plays for him, this, like we talked about before, this is something Lamar Jackson has not had. A guy he can throw the football up to and just have that trust in him. Besides Mark Andrews, right, and probably Isaiah Likely at this point, that there hasn't been a lot of guys he can just throw the ball up to and all done, right? All done. So I love it, man. DeAndre Hopkins is dogging out right now. I love what I'm seeing from him, and just to see what he's done so far, like to have touchdowns in the first 2 games. He almost had 2 in this game too. It just makes you excited for what could be, right? It really does. It makes you excited for what could be, because DeAndre Hopkins is continuing to prove that, like I said before, I said it with Derrick Henry, I said it with DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins until proven otherwise. Right. And because of that, you got to respect him. You got to respect him. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble. But you got to respect him. And I think that veteran presence is going to make all these young receivers even better. Y'all, look, I can't explain enough how good the Ravens played in this game. It wasn't perfect, but that's okay. Because, and I'm not saying what's the John Harbaugh saying? It wasn't perfect, but it's us. But it wasn't pretty, but it's us. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the bounce back is what I'm loving. The rebound is what I'm loving. Rebounds in certain aspects of things aren't always a good thing, but but rebounds, in this situation, y'all, having rebounding like they did after a rough first quarter, and honestly first half, right? They left some points on the board. They left some throws on the field, probably some runs on the field, right? Some defensive plays on the field, but it doesn't matter, right? They bounced back, and I think it was big. Look, y'all, this has been the Be More Show, your rapid reaction right here on the Be More Show about the Ravens win against the Browns. Let me know below what you guys think. Look, I'll be back in not too long from now to talk to give y'all a full recap on what's going on after I dive a little bit deeper. Look, y'all, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. Hit that subscribe button for me if you haven't already. Favorite me on all the major podcasting platforms, and be sure to join the conversation down below. But look, y'all, I see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show.